Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for having the patience to convene on this one again. We've been doing it over and over. My name is Joel Kretz, State Representative, 7th District, and we've got two bills here that I'm putting forward. They're really small bills. But before we get into it, I wanted to read some wisdom. Behind every successful man, got your interest yet? Okay. Behind every successful man stands a surprised mother-in-law, which Voltaire, of course. And I'm not sure my mother-in-law is really surprised yet, but I'm working on that daily. If we could go through the maps, I've entrusted staff with this because their chances of getting through it are better than mine. But this is kind of a look at the department's measuring of wolves. I think the first ones were here. I'll get corrected if I'm wrong, 2008, something like that. But you can see the early distribution was, there was a couple in the Cascades, 3 in Northeast, and flip through the next one if you would. Thank you. Is that now? I wonder if we got that's 2022. Okay, so that's where we've ended up. But what you see on these maps is that, we had a small start. Most of the wolves came in from Idaho. They were released there same time as Yellowstone in I think it was the Frank Church wilderness. And then, of course, they migrated across across the line from Canada. I guess the point of all this is that we've got enough wolves just in a few counties of the northeast part of the state to delist the whole state under the delisting criteria, but it doesn't fit the plan that is, I think, 10, 12, 14 years old, which expected them to disperse around the state. We've got enough for the whole state in Northeast. We've got a really good start in the North Cascades. I think one pack in the South Cascades, which is a third recovery zone. So basically, adjustment in status is dependent in many ways on populating that last zone. And what I'm here today is to say that we've done a really good job in Northeast Washington of recovering wolves. They're everywhere, and I can tell you for every pack you see there, I could tell you where there's another one or two in most cases, just hearing from people that are seeing things, and eventually the department usually discovers them. But, I think we've got officially, the department will say this is a conservative figure, 216 wolves in the state. I would just, it's an educated guess, at least. I would say there's at least 400 to 500. They are prolificating fast. We're going up every year. And I'd like to read a little bit from the department's draft periodic status review for the gray wolf. One line: since WDFW's first wolf population survey in 2008, the wolf population has increased for 14 consecutive years by an average of 23% per year. A few more lines. It kind of just sets the stage of where we are now in wolf recovery. Washington's wolf population has far exceeded the wolf plan objectives for delisting in terms of the number and persistence of single successful breeding pairs. However, the wolf plan objectives also consider wolf presence in each of the state's 3 recovery regions. Furthermore, all listed classifications, for example, endangered, threatened, sensitive, consider a significant portion of the species range within the state. WAC 220, 610, 110 defines a significant portion of its range as that portion of a species range likely to be essential to the long-term survival of the population in Washington. Model projections from Petraka 23A and B indicate Washington's wolf population currently occupies an area essential to their long-term survival and is not in danger of extinction or becoming endangered with their current distribution and population trend. However, the geographic distribution standards of the wolf plan have not yet been met for the Southern Cascades and the North Coast recovery region. No successful breeding pairs have been documented yet in the South Cascades and the Northwest Coast recovery region, although the first known pack was documented in this region as of 2022. Although individual wolves have been detected in western Washington, i.e. west of the Cascades, where models indicate most unoccupied suitable wolf habitat in the state remains. No known packs or reproductive individuals have been documented in 2022. Based on 14 consecutive years of population growth, population modeling predictions that indicate the wolf's population is robust and will continue to grow and expand its range, including the South Cascades and Northwest Coast recovery region, and ongoing state and federal protections, we conclude that the wolf does not meet the definition of state endangered, which requires a species to be seriously threatened with extinction. So from the data the department's been collecting, it's pretty clear that we've got a robust wolf population. What I'm trying to address is we've got them all, in one small region, and we've had a lot of conflict. Both of these bills are attempts to, they're really narrow, really small geographic regions where roughly 80% of the wolves are, to have some relief, hopefully, and find better ways of using the tools that we've got. I'll just get into the bills a little bit. Putting together a local work group, I think, would be really a positive thing. There's lots of good ideas out there, and we've studied around states surrounding that have gone through wolf recovery. They're all way ahead of us. There's lessons to be learned there, and I think we could learn from that, but also the local composition. This would put together some local folks in Northeast Washington are dealing with them. Some of the livestock organizations. We've got regional nonprofits that have worked on the non-lethal end of it. The Northeast Washington Wolf Cattle Collaborative, Jay Shepard's done a great job there. In fact, I think our range riding program in the state, while it's not perfect, I think it's the best one in the country, and which would mean it's probably the best one in the world. They've made a lot of improvements there, and it's, like I said, not perfect, and it's not foolproof either. Even if it was perfect, it's never foolproof, but it's one more non-lethal tool to try and avoid the conflict. It also includes local tribes who have been greatly involved in wolf recovery and have done a really good job on tribal land, and would want them to be operating in that group if they will. I hope they do. Basically an effort to put a little bit more regional input into it from the people that are living and breathing wolves day and night. And the other bill is, you heard from staff, but the former north half of the Colville Reservation went back to the federal government, and the tribe retained hunting and fishing rights on the northern half. So they have co-management status with the wildlife on the north half, the old north half they call it, which is basically just the north half of Okanagan and Ferry counties, which is some of the centers of conflict. So this would just cover that area. Staff pointed out they've got an MOU, I think, from '98 where they've been doing it. I've heard from both the department and the tribe that there's been some good things happen but they both mentioned that it's probably pretty underutilized, and this is kind of encouragement to look at that arrangement and hopefully get a little bit deeper into the issues up there. Both entities have done a lot of work, a lot of surveys. I know the tribe has a tremendous amount of information. They've done a lot of helicopter flights on the north half, assessing populations of ungulates and wolves and everything else. And I think we'll hear from somebody who knows more than I do, but I think they've got some valuable thoughts on what could be done up on the north half. I do want to stress the wildlife program on the Colville Reservation is really impressive to me. They've got, if you look at the map, you can see quite a few packs are on the reservation. It's pretty well covered with different packs, and then you also have to consider that there's probably another 2 or 3 nobody's found yet. But it's a really innovative wildlife program. They introduced antelope a few years to ancestral areas. Buffalo, I was visiting with the council this year, and it was the day after they'd released them, and the first ones were in somebody's yard in Espelum. So that's going to be an interesting one too. But I really have enjoyed working with their wildlife experts down there. They've got some great biologists and great plans, and the real contrast that I'm seeing is there's not much difference between the north half and the south half in many ways. Mostly remote country, a lot of great habitat on both ends of it. But on the reservation, their model is a little bit different for managing wolves. They do all the avoidance things that we see on other areas, but they also address problems in a much more timely manner, which I would argue that's better for wolves and for humans and livestock and everything else. So I'm hoping that between the department and the tribe working more closely together, we can see some better outcomes. I think maybe both sides could benefit from more data, and obviously the tribes have options, as a sovereign nation that the department doesn't, but I think that they could co-manage together a little more closely. I'm going to close and leave these to you. I do want to thank the folks that made it over here. There's not a lot, and I can tell you this is a tough time for people to make it over that hill. We had at my ranch, it was 24 below last week. Everything froze up, machinery, water. You still got to feed the cows. And my wife is she might hit 100 pounds, and she had some big grain sacks that hold a ton of grain, and she's out there forking hay into the grain sacks and then dragging it up the hill to the cows. That's the level of the things that we have to do over there, and most of the cattlemen have done similar things over the years. There's some crazy stuff, but it's a tough time to get away. The other part of it, everybody's calving right now, and that's a 24/7 operation. Had a number of calls, I'd be there, but I can't get anybody to watch the cows, and that's their number one commitment, is taking care of their livestock. I'm really glad to have the folks here that did show up, and Melton Askett is kind of a legend to me. I think he's somebody we can all learn a lot from. I've got tremendous respect for him still staying in the game. I keep telling him he needs to run again another 3-4 times, Mel, so consider yourself formally asked on that. And Kathy McKay is a dear friend. Her folks were friends of mine, and she's got a pretty compelling story, I think, that I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you.